Hello everyone, I am Aditi Dudeja, a student of PGDM GM cohort at Xclusive Jamshedpur, and today we are here for ReinVision 5.0, which is a digital transformation conclave themed human AI synergy. This podcast by Explore is where we bring in people who are actually building the future of business and technology, not just talking about it. There's a line by Peter Drucker that goes like, "The best way to predict the future is to create it." I think about this line a lot when I look at companies like Kimberly Clark, 150 years old, and our guest today, Mr. Nisarg Jha, has been pushing generative AI into the core of how that company operates. Mr. Nisarg currently serves as the GenAI and Innovations Leader at Kimberly Clark, where he is responsible for driving the organization's GenAI strategy and innovation initiatives. He brings with him close to 2 decades of experience in enterprise technology, having built his career across solution architecture, enterprise architecture, digital transformation, and product leadership. At Kimberly Clark, he has led the global digital sales platform, a B2B ecosystem that fronts nearly $4 billion in annual business for the organization. Welcome to the podcast, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Great to be here.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. It's been a pleasure to have you over here. So we'll go by this, that we'll start with your introduction and a little bit of your journey, like how you got into this system, and then at Kimberly Clark, and then into GenAI.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Okay. So you have spent almost 2 decades in enterprise tech, and you're now leading GenAI at one of the leading consumer goods company. If someone's never met you before, how would you describe yourself?
Well, that's professionally, personally. I think the way you are in reality, right, as a person, that kinds of reflect overall in your professional journey as well, right? So, talking about the entire journey and the introduction, what drives me is curiosity. And if you would look into the overall stages of my career, I think there have been a lot of diversity into it, like moving from one frame to another and then to the other one. And that exactly is kind of a good introduction, where the journey is not when you are sitting or standing at a single place, right? The journey is when you keep moving, you reach destinations, you cross milestones, and never consider milestone as the destination, right? Because that's just telling you that you're on the right direction, on the right path, and at the right pace. So for me, in the personal space, it's more around travel, it's more about meeting people, it's more about socializing, it's more about being curious about why a certain place is more famous or less famous than the other one. I can read it, but I would prefer doing it more by going there, visiting it, and making it visibly appealing to me and impress me, and then make a check to it, right? Like, yes, now it truly deserves to be famous. Similar thing, right? As an introduction, if you will ask me, it's more visual things than reading for me.
Okay.
And that does not mean that I don't read books. It means that if there is a movie that's been made on book, I would do the other way around of watching the movie and then understand why the book is better, like others do by reading the book, and then they get impressed and kind of criticizes the movie because it doesn't matches the wavelength of or the expectation that a book did. Similarly, on the workspace, it's more around, I know there are departments, they are doing certain set of things, they have certain set of skills. How about me being there and do that, experience myself, learn it, and then either appreciate it or criticize it or learn around it, right? So that's the kind of business as well as the professional thing that could be put in a right way to identify me as a human.
Okay. Thank you, sir. So what I've gotten from you is that curiosity drives you a lot, and you are one person who wants to get into the ground realities and do the things yourself rather than just sitting on the outside and seeing how does it happen.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Thank you. Now moving to our next question. Here's something that I noticed through your LinkedIn post.
Okay.
Most leaders, they talk in theory. You post actual diagrams, 4-step frameworks, loop backs, refine and reevaluate. So that's definitely not a title talking, as you just mentioned. That's someone who actually who has built things actually. So let's just start from there. What does GenAI and Innovation Leader actually mean day to day at Kimberly Clark? What do you own, and most importantly, what you don't own?
Okay.
Yeah.
So Think GenAI and innovation, right? I mean, if you look into innovation as a driver for GenAI, let's put it in that manner, right?
Okay.
Why is it called innovation? It's called innovation because you're trying to solve a thing, or get to a thing which do not exist today.
Okay.
So in reality, you are probably chasing a ghost. Right?
Right.
You're trying to envision something, you're trying to sell something, you're trying to build something which does not exist today.
Right.
So what's your KPI in that case? Nothing, right?
Nothing.
It comes as a like a solution being developed with a vision, without knowing or completely understanding what that vision is going to go ahead and hit and solve.
Right.
So what helps most in such things is doing your intensive research upfront.
Okay.
With almost like 8 billion people in the world, if you think, and I'm being like very practical on it, if you think that you have cracked something very new, you probably are fooling yourself. Because out of those 8 billion people, somebody would have definitely thought about it, definitely wrote about it, definitely researched it to a certain level, and probably dropped it. So there is so much of food for thought available because of the technology and the neural networks which are available, including simple thing as a Google search, which can give you directions, which can give and make your ideation a little bit stronger, right? Make your theories carry more weight, simply because you have reference point to it. So as an innovation leader, my core thing is to look and analyze all those things, make a practical judgment, realistic judgment, whether the ideation really is going to solve the problem which we are trying to solve, based on facts.
Okay.
So that's where the scrutiny, that's where the filtration of, if there are 50,000 people in Kimberly Clark, you'll get 45,000 ideas, definitely, because everybody has ideas. So which one of them makes more sense, which carries the business value, where the cost of implementation, delivering that innovation makes more sense. Think about spending 100 rupees on building something on a regular basis, and the value creation is 60 rupees. Will you ever do that? No, right? And that's exactly where the business value plays most important role. There are certain areas where you will still go and do that 100 rupees investment. Why you would do that? Because you know that over a period of time, things get built on top of it, and that 60 rupees value creation would reach to 160 at the same investment, right? So those are the kind of things, as an innovation leader, you need to constantly keep thinking around it. When it comes to GenAI, if I say that I am a leader of GenAI for 20 years, I am lying. The technology did not exist. If I am hiring someone with an experience of 10 years in GenAI, I'm fooling myself, right? Because that's not exactly people were doing before 2023 or 2022.
Right.
They had bits and pieces of it, they had components of it, maybe not as matured as how Sam Altman did it in 2022, right? Like made it public commodity. So next comes is being part of those GenAI things. That's in the development side. So if there is somebody who is developing it for me, probably that person has more skills as a developer into it than me, which I was like 12, 13 years back maybe developing and writing code. But now that person has more maturity, more ground level understanding of how things are built from a zeros and ones perspective, which is coding. But probably with my experience, I can add more weightage. With my research on innovation, I can tell that person whether the approach is right or wrong, or how we can elevate that approach or experience, right, in development. So that's why you see a lot of things which are done at, like, where I'm literally practically involved in hands-on work with them. That's called whiteboarding with us. As a leader, if you do not sit with your larger audiences and team and do the whiteboarding, I don't think you're leading them well. You need to get involved. You need to kind of appreciate the ideas, the thoughts, and involve that in those whiteboarding sessions. And that's why you see all those things in LinkedIn, which are literally going to probably step 1 and step 2 of development.
Right. So it's great to actually learn from your LinkedIn posts also. And it's So basically, the thing is that we need someone to have that sort of judgment wherein we want to actually apply our Gen AI initiatives. We need to have that domain expertise and that judgment to make that call whether we really want to do that or not. And for
Yep.
that, you're here.
That's right.
Right. Okay, so now next moving to our next section. So it basically talks about your early journey, how it all started. So my first question is that how would you describe your first role, not over here at Kimberly Clark, but your first role, and what's one thing about the job that still shapes you today at work?
So yeah, that's going back almost like 22
Yeah.
years when I got my first thing rolling. I'm not sure you know what is a straight cable and a tape cables.
Actually, I'm not.
Okay, so that's exactly what my first day at job was. I was introduced with a clamp in my hand and a cable, and I was asked to make a straight and a cross cable out of it.
Okay, I think I've done that in college. In first year, I think we did that.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I heard of those terms,
Okay.
but never knew how to do it. Right?
Okay.
I've seen a telephone guy or an internet guy, which was very pretty luxury at that time. I'm talking about 2003 and 4, right? Having all those things. They used to come at our place and they used to clamp that cable, and telephone used to work. So that's when I understood that the way you sequence the blue, yellow, and green cables, it defines how the communication would travel between a point A to point B, right? So that was something which I was given on day one at my job, and we were setting up a ITES company at that time, and they were supposed to have those cables done so that they can receive calls and answer to their customers, and at the same time have another kind of a connectivity to record those sessions for quality compliance purposes, which you hear every time till date,
Okay.
right? So that was something that I did for almost 4 months. It's like peeling potatoes and not doing nothing at job, right? You are a chef, but you've been asked to peel potatoes for 4 months so that you can see, observe, and learn. My job was to clamp and create those crossovers or straight cables or connections for almost 3 months. What that gave me was a access to a business, to a
Okay.
place where I could see, I could learn, being the curious guy, right? That why am I doing this? What is the benefit of it? Who's going to use it?
Okay.
How are they going to use it, right? All those things started hitting my head, and I was like, okay, enough of clamping. I need to be on the other side now. What I need to do to be on the other side? It came out like, oh, you can build and assemble desktops. I said, okay, sounds interesting, more interesting than peeling potatoes, that is clamping.
Yeah.
So moved into that area. So that's how, right, like the curiosity kept you going. Now, if I think about it 21, 22 years down the line, I want to make sure that I tell this to everyone who is starting up their career, who is mid into their career, that if you become kind of habitual, compliant, complicit about your current position or your roles, right? Maybe you would be peeling that potato for another 5 years.
Yeah.
Is that what you want to do? Right? So that is the kind of mentorship and programs that I am heavily involved into, in kind of motivating people. Now I still apply those things. Classical example of those LinkedIn sharing, whiteboarding that I do. That's kind of knowledge sharing, at the same time sitting with somebody who is super good in development and learn from them the skill that I left 10, 12 years back last date, right? So that is the kind of thing that I still carry from day one till day, I don't know if year 21, let's call it that way. I can't move
Convert
that
it into
without,
days.
yeah, without AI. So yeah.
Okay. So the thing is that from the very beginning, you had a vision that you just don't want to be stagnant at one place. You want to move ahead, and you always had that vision of growth, that I want to be at the forefront leading things and doing things myself rather than just being at one place.
Right. One of the most important thing in that area is how much you listen versus how much you speak.
Right.
Try to be the quietest person in the room, because that's when you are learning the most.
Right.
The moment you start speaking about, you become the one from whom others are learning. So it has to be like your I would say primary motive of why being at a certain place, right?
Right.
So yeah, that's how the professor and students work, right? Students listen, professor speaks. The day students start speaking more,
it doesn't serve the
you're not at the right
purpose.
place.
Right. Great. So my next question is that you have been through the pre-cloud era, the mobile digital transformation wave, the automation and the RPA boom, and now GenAI. Looking back, like you said, that there was a moment early on that this industry is going to reinvent. Did you had that vision that constant changes would keep on happening? And did you think that like I also need to reinvent myself along with it?
If I would say that I always had that vision from first 5 years of my career, no, because I was clueless. I had no idea why people are talking about digital transformation. I had no idea why virtualization is a boom at that point, right? Like why people are moving from physical servers to virtual. For me, that was a job. I have to do it. If somebody would have said that this is kind of a seed or a stepping stone to something like an AI at that time, I would have laughed at them, right? Like, what the hell are you talking about?
Yeah.
But as that 5 years converted to 7 and 10, and you start getting more involved into the nitty-gritties of the businesses, or understanding of how the world or specific domain operates, that's when you start getting the visions and understanding of why you are doing your job. So if somebody asks me right now what I would tell to that 3 or 5 year old experienced person, just don't do your job. Try to ask yourself or the person who is giving you that job that why am I doing it?
Okay.
It's not being arrogant. It's about being more aware. It's being about more informed. It's about being more involved in what you are doing, and that will make your performance maybe from a mediocre to average to a higher level of performance, right? So all the things that you just talked about. So the journey started for me, like from clamping those cables to um, working with Windows XP and making its adoption for Microsoft, and then looking into servers and then virtualizing them, and then building private cloud before even Microsoft Azure and AWS became what they were, and then crossing that journey to reaching to a data center build, which we did for a very famous and big insurance company in London. So all that thing was only because you need to ask why am I doing it and how long I'm going to do it. Have I reached a maturity of doing that work that I should be jumping and plunging into the next level, right? So that awareness and that involvement in everyone is what is going to decide your growth factors. And that's why from a developer to moving to an individual contributor or leadership, that's a choice. Going into enterprise architecture means you still become multi-domain specialist, but from a different level, right? So you are no more involved into modules or modularity, but you define modularity in bulk. That's where enterprise architecture came. When you are done with that, you understand the business from not just one dimensions, but multi dimensions, and why and how things communicate and collaborate, and how are they coupled or decoupled for a reason. Then you try to get into the next level where you say, hey, you know what, now I want to make decisions. I want to have more controls in terms of growing the business. That's when you plunge into the next level. So that's where we started working on things called digital workplace expansion. And most unfortunately, when what pushed me there was COVID.
Okay.
Because at that time, everything was shut down. People were at home. Businesses were not prepared for anything like that, where they will see empty rooms, right? And still operate and run their billion-dollar businesses. Anybody or comes up and says, if anyone comes up and says that I had the vision and visibility that something like this would come and I'm ready for it, again, blatant lie. Nothing, nobody was prepared for it. They were ready for BCPs, what we call as business continuity plans, but they are more geographically based. That what if a flood or a disaster happens in my location A, I know there is location B which will take over. But nobody had the vision that what if entire globe is shut down, the planet is shut down. Am I still going to operate? So that was kind of a challenge which drew to digital workplaces, where we had to make sure the productivity and people keep working, even with that shutdown, being at home with equal accountability and deliverables. So, That was a challenge thrown. So digital workplace, when that was achieved, how your businesses work, B2B, that was the next step. So that's why you see that that's where the curiosity took, again, my favorite word, curiosity.
Yeah.
Why, how, when, all those things, when we keep doing, you tend to end up in all those places, as you just spoke about it in the introduction.
So basically, this is a learning for all of us, that we need to know why we are doing the things we are doing. It's not just the work that has been assigned to us, but we need to know the why behind it. And sometimes, like unprecedented times like COVID comes. So if you know the reason, and if you are curious enough, you will eventually overcome it, like how we did it, like how you did it for digital workplaces.
Yes.
Right? Okay. So my next question is that what I've noticed through your career journey is that most people generally switch companies, but you have been there with Kimberly Clark since a very, very long time and have done different kind of roles within it. So the question is that, can you please walk us through that internal journey a little bit, and what made you keep raising your hand? I think I know the answer to that question is again curiosity for something new, instead of just switching company to some other domain. Yeah.
So this is Kimberly Clark, the one that I was working before this. I spent almost 12 years there.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's, and if you will ask me, in 21 years, it's just 3 companies. So 7 years is the average, right?
Okay.
But if you will look into the profile, it's nowhere more than 2.5 years that I have stuck to a specific domain.
Role.
And why do people change job? I mean, if you will look and do kind of a deep dive into it, the primary answer would definitely be 30% hike, 40% hike, right? Or I am not comfortable working with a certain set of people, mainly their bosses, leaders, or whatever be the reason, right? Now, if you keep all of these things on one side and think, does it make more sense to switch the companies or grow within the company if you're lucky enough, if you're talented enough, if you are matured enough to convince that why you should be taking up more deeper responsibilities within the company, right? Because it doesn't matter where you go, it takes about 6 months, 8 months, 10 months for you to prove yourself over there, grow to a certain level, announce yourself, right, that I am here and I am capable of doing, and this is my caliber, right? Announce it and make people convinced that they should be trusting on you. Takes a lot of time and energy.
Right.
Think about doing that within the same company, across domains, across different leadership, across different business units, and see which one makes more sense for you. Being an expert on something, it's probably very surprising in a country like India that somebody is spending so much time. But if you will look into global, be it Europe, UK, US, you would find people retiring from the company where they joined immediately after their graduation, or even in certain cases after their 12th. Why that happens is because it's more about how adaptive you are within the organization, how strategic you are in terms of looking and shaping up your career in that particular company. How much are you upskilling yourself within that time frame that you are in a specific task? And most importantly, are you being valued or not? Right? How much time you are able to spend with your personal engagement, your families, which I think India really, we all need to really start thinking more seriously about. The work-life balance, what we call. How can you build that if you continuously spend time in proving yourself, right, to the world, or to yourself, or to your company, or the companies that you are switching to? If you keep spending time on it, when will you get the time to live? Right? When you will get time to be with your families? So this is the major differentiator you would figure out between how India operates and how the world sees their personal and professional. And that is the reason why I prefer being in the company, prove it, move it, get into new domains, help that company grow, rather than switching jobs and looking into multiple aspects.
Okay. So it basically means that we all think that switching to a different company would be better, but sometimes it's like how strategic you are, like how adaptable you are within the same organization, and of course the support from the senior leadership,
Yes.
people above you matters a lot, which I think you got at Kimberly Clark and
Yes.
your previous organizations as well.
That's absolutely the thing. Think about every time starting from scratch versus getting a solid foundation when you get into a new profile, new duties, and new accountabilities. You still have a solid foundation which is backing up, right? The push you get, the I would say the peacefulness is still there, right? You don't have to prove yourself. You have your credentials already available with everyone. So that kind of give you a sense of being more free in terms of acting and taking a little bit more risks because you have the credentials to back you up, plus the support of executive leaderships and all, right? Because they trust on you. So that gives you kind of that confidence to keep moving, right? Which you will have to earn every time you switch.
Right, got it. Got that insight from you. So my next question is that was there any specific failure or setback or hard year early in your career that taught you something that you still carry with yourself? Any specific failure that you can recall?
Absolutely. I mean, if I'm saying that the kind of things I'm speaking right now is something that I used to believe 10 years or 12 years back, no.
Right.
These all things have come up and learned as an experience, sometimes a good manner, sometimes in a hard way, right? Talking about hard experience, yes, just like anybody, or I would say the majority who joins or enter the corporate world, they face a challenge that they try to compare themselves, compete with their peers or leaders, or somebody is saying that, and come up with things like, why are they doing certain things the way they are asking us to do? They should have done it X way, Y way, right? So that kind of thing is kind of an energy that auto generates inside everyone, right? And we have this tendency of being super critical to everything that we are not doing, and everything that we are doing, we are super against listening any criticism towards it. So we are like, in a way, we are giver, we are not takers, right? So that is the thing that I learned, I experienced. It did not help me, right? In my early days, where I was like the giver, not the taker of criticisms, and there have been situations where it has backfired, right? It did not help me professionally. It did not help me get peace of mind. It did not help me, move or take the path that I strategically thought I'm going to take. So let's not get into a project failure or a situational failure. Just look it into the way how I failed myself in the very early stages by being or carrying that mindset, right? Like of not appreciating my seniors or peers or others who are asking me to do certain things with their experience. Probably they are better than me, or no, probably they were better than me in that with their experience and all. And I challenged them, but never took the feedback that they were giving me. So this is something that I try to go ahead and make sure I completely avoid or resonate, right, with the ones who I am dealing with now, who are into that stage of their career where I precisely know their psyche, I precisely know their mindset, that why they are behaving or doing certain thing, rather than taking it in a negative manner or calling them aggressive or calling them, not a team player and things like that, just to, go back to my days. That's the thing that I'm still applying, the mistakes that I did in the early stages.
Be focused on their own lane, like it's an important insight. You cannot keep on looking every time with your peers and comparing yourself. And second thing is that feedback is very important. When someone gives you a feedback, we should try and implement it, because at that point of time maybe we don't have that insight, that knowledge to gauge it, that it is helpful for me, but later in hindsight you realize that
and you end up doing the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. When you reach the top of
but when you do that, the thing that I would like encourage everyone and upcoming leaders and professional like you yourself, right? When you see yourself doing exactly the same thing that you criticized, say, a few years back. Make a checkbox saying, "Oh, I made a mistake at that time." Be kind of self appreciative of the fact that I learned it. I learned it the hard way. I should have done, if I would have heard that person at that time, how it would have helped me. Maybe, the learning that I had in 3 years would have happened that same moment if I would have taken and grasped that feedback. So be true to yourself is what I'm trying to say, right? From that perspective.
Got it. So now, moving on to the next section. So you led the global digital sales portal platform at Kimberly Clark Professional, a system that supports billions of dollars in B2B businesses. For someone who's outside enterprise tech, can you paint a picture of what that platform actually does and why that matters?
Yeah, pretty interesting one. So Kimberly Clark is kind of split into two kind of businesses. Not just Kimberly, every CPG does. There is a B2B component. There is a B2C component. So B2B is the one that deals in Kimberly Clark with things like airlines, hotel industries, and everyone who is into business and consuming our products. So if you have been to any of those uh, airlines lounges or five-star hotels or a very good restaurants, right, you would have seen our dispensers in there, like Kimberly Clark Professional, where you can pull the tissues. You can go to in the restroom. We are like the leader in the globe, where you have those toilet rolls dispensers or hand dispensers, right, tissues dispensers over there. So that was the nature of business that I was involved from a tech enablement and tech compliance perspective. So in North America itself, we had about thousands and thousands in five figures distributors. Okay, imagine we dealing with them. How are we going to go ahead and maintain the pricing agreements with them? Like, I cannot be working on the same price for everyone, right? There is a different bands, there is different segments, and how you have to go and work with our distributors. We don't go and knock doors of uh, uh, retailers or direct consumers. When you are into B2B, you need to follow the channels of distribution, retailers, wholesalers, right? All those comes into picture. So the business that we were dealing with over there was how to maintain that. Number one thing is agreements, the chargebacks. If they have to come back and give us the claims, we needed to have a tech enabled solutions where in consistency we can have the input from those 10,000 plus distributor in a single channel, and then it can work with our backend systems like SAP, so that we have the consistency, compliance, and records of everything on how we are dealing with them. So from a very high level, that was the kind of a platform we were dealing with. Now, what it also means, if you want to get into the complexities of it, there are probably 5,000 companies in US who we are doing business with. What are the chances that all 5,000 of them are using same softwares at the back end and same set of or format of information sharing and everything? I would say not more than 5 or 10%. But then you cannot have 5,000 different systems at your receiving end, right, to communicate one-to-one with each one of them. How can you funnel and channel everything into a single source or destination to take inputs from all of them in their respected format? We can't ask them to change business so that they can do business with us, right? Their ways of doing it. So how to kind of make that standardization across those different 5,000 formats and still have our systems processing it with single lens was the challenge which was given to us. It used to take 24-48 hours for them to send a single thing to us. With those initiatives in 2.5-3 years that we did, we converted that real time. So if you submit a request, doesn't matter where, it used to reflect in our system within 15 seconds, 15 to 20 seconds basically. So that was the kind of initiative. What it meant was, there is more compliance, there is better cash flow, the AR, the PR, AR, APs, everything was more streamlined. The distribution became more systematic, and on top of it, we got time to go ahead and go more online. like from the e-commerce standpoint. Omnichannel, everyone wants to be there. But are they, with a company 150-year-old, are they in a area where they can call them fully digital and present in e-commerce and everyone? In India, yes, but in countries outside of India, it's very difficult to build up that behavior. So another thing that we did as part of this portal and distribution management was build self-service for them. So they started tracking their orders, they started putting their orders online through our systems at a B2B scale, which is not so common. You do B2C very easily, but when it comes to B2B purchase and all, you have very limited scope over there, and how you make that self-service to gain more traction with our businesses, right? That was another thing which was the key highlight of working over there. But being from a tech background and all, again, the curiosity kicked in and learned what are the business processes behind it.
Okay.
You need to understand, if I am building a solution, if I don't know how business is going to go ahead and use it, and I simply go on with writing codes, I'm not doing my job. Because business don't understand tech to the level I understand. I don't understand the level of business processes that business understand. How can we make sure that we talk the same language? The biz tech, right? Like that's the common term which is coined like about 5-10 years back. So that biz tech, another is the level where people started understanding each other. And this was a classical learning example and experience for me, where I started keeping tech a little bit on the back burner and started focusing more on the business side of it, that why certain things are done, how discounts are done, how promotions are created, how pricing is done, how the compliance is important, how legally it matters to maintain traceability and visibility to your transactions, and for how many years. All those things started to get into my zone to understand the business better. So that was the transitional phase for me, where from tech we started looking more into the business, being better partner for them and better in speaking their languages, right? So that was the journey that happened with B2B portals here.
Yeah. So it was basically a thing that helped both you and the organization. It streamlined a lot of processes for them, and like for what used to take 2 days sort of became in real time. And for you, it was a stepping stone. You like moving from tech to business side, learning into that aspect. So it was actually worked wonders for both of you.
Exactly. I mean, nothing teaches you things better than being in those situations where you have to find your way out, right? So it's up to you. Either you can run away, switch jobs, saying I don't want to do that, people are asking me to do, or be in that arena, right? And fight yourself in and learn and grow and elevate yourself. You may not be the smartest person in that area, but challenge yourself to be the one in 2 years, right? Among those people who are masters in their job over there in the business side.
Got it. So my next question to you is that you wrote a post titled "The Power of the AI Friend." Okay, the framing of AI as a friend, rather than a tool is interesting. So what do you mean by that, and how does that idea show up in the work that you do, or maybe even in your daily life? Like if you call somebody a friend, I'm sure you are extensively in touch with it.
Exactly. So yeah, that's one of the aspect where you see you call it your friend and you be in touch with it, or if you don't call that thing as your friend, what you do, you try to make distance from that, right? So there are two aspects to it. AI, the way it came and how the anti-marketing happened for it was people are going to lose their jobs. If you are in the fear that AI is gonna be the one who's going to take my job, can you ever be friend with it? No, right? You're gonna run away from it. You're gonna talk negative about it. You're gonna go ahead and make sure that it does not get onboarded into your processes, your systems, simply because you feel that one day it's gonna take what I'm doing in totality and I'll be kicked out of the system, which isn't true. So that anti or negative marketing which happened, or I would say the momentum which went the way of calling it more of a fear rather than a friend is something that had to be well understood by the organization, by the people, and the larger enterprises outside of your domain, right? So if at 10, 11 at night you are not well, you need to talk to someone, who is the first thing that comes to your mind?
ChatGPT.
Okay. And if I have to replace that chat GPT, say 5, 7 years back, who would that think? What would that thing would be?
Maybe a close doctor known to
Exactly.
you.
Because you rely on them, right?
Yeah.
You trust them, or maybe one of your friends, right? Like the best buddies, whatever you call. Hey, I'm down with this. I just wanted to talk to you for something, right? You still do that,
Right.
and that is exactly where I want people to visualize AI in their jobs as well. Treat it as a friend.
Okay.
What friends do? They back each other. They support each other. They elevate each other, their capabilities, right? So that is how you should be seeing AI. It's not something, it may be, if I'm saying that it's not going to go ahead and replace jobs, I might be lying, but it's not the way how it is perceived by everyone.
Yeah.
Right? It's the primary goal of generatives and artificial intelligence is the efficiency. That if you think it that way, you are going to better adapt to it, and you are going to be a better friend of AI. And that is what that entire post was all about.
Yeah, got it. So actually, basically, we do misconstrue AI a lot, something that will take away our jobs, but it also depends on our own perspective. How do we perceive it? If you take it as an ally, it will always help you become more efficient and improve your lives. And a lot depends on our own perspectives. How do we want to take it up?
So if the perspective has been built that it is going to take my job, the perspective has to be built that it is my friend as well, right? It has to be like equals.
Exactly.
So it's now up to you. You can cry over the fear of losing the job, or be the friend and elevate yourself, right? By the use of that technology in order to get better results out of it.
Right, got it. So next question is like, how do you personally decide what's worth building versus what's just shiny object syndrome? Because everybody is talking about AI today, chasing a new AI capability because it's exciting rather than because it solves a real problem. We just don't want to do AI because everyone else is doing it. Or is it because you actually see a problem and that's where you want to apply it?
Yeah. So that's a good one, actually. So think of it this way, right? What was the primary goal of the big fours for larger enterprises and CPGs or pharmas or BFSIs or automotive? What was the contribution of big fours to them?
It was more to provide them services.
Yeah, more to provide them guidance, more to improve their business processes, right? So in the similar way, and why do you think a company which is 20-30 billion dollars, can't they hire a set of people and say, hey, you go and build my strategy? I don't want to rely on anybody externals. I don't need consultancy from specialists like big fours, right? As from a consultancy standpoint, everybody could do that. They have the money, but still they choose to do that, right? Why? The reason is because they bring the expertise, they bring the specialization. They make sure that me as a corporate or me as an enterprise or a business focus on doing what I am supposed to do. I am supposed to be building Huggies diaper. I am not supposed to be solving real world AI problems. Right? If I start my focus on solving that, why am I able to, the reason for which I am able to put money on AI will be gone, which is by selling diapers, for example. Right? So my focus has to be this. Now, the question about the decision making relies or applies very similar to these kind of logics, that if I go ahead and build something today that solves my problem, is that problem big enough that I invest $1 million to it? Am I solving a big $1 million problem, or by investing $1 million I'm solving a 500K problem? That's the example that I gave you previously. So now I would say there are levels at which we need to go ahead and break down this. The number one thing is, am I using AI in manufacturing? Am I using AI in productivity, human productivity, right? Like in terms of how efficiently and quickly I'm able to do my job, right? And is there another reasons where I am like innovating on AI and trying to outgrow my sales, marketing, and everything? So you need to kind of segment your use cases. One rule, one decision does not fit all the boxes. If I am using Copilot today, like in the panel also I was hearing, right? Like they are talking about using Copilot. Can I go ahead and solve my manufacturing problem with a Copilot M365 license? No, that is for my productivity. So if I am spending 5 hours in PPT, right, the classical example available all over internet, if I can do that in 15 minutes, if I am the person who's going to say I'm going to spend 4 hours, 45 minutes partying outside, I'm done. I'm doomed. I'm not using AI. If I am the person who says I'm going to use the remaining 4 hours, 45 minutes because the 5 hours I allocated for that PPT was done in 15 efficiently, I'm going to go ahead and think loud in terms of how I can improve other processes, right? Where all I can introduce it as an individual contributor. So that is where it makes 100% of the sense to introduce AI into individual productivity. But then I say that I'm going to go ahead and use the similar logic in my manufacturing or research, right? I cannot go ahead and use a generalized system available outside for everyone to do my research in diaper productivity, because it needs very specific, skilled, confined set of knowledges to be introduced into our systems, to be done in a specific order, in specific steps to get the optimum result out of it. So if I use O365, M365 in my research, I'm going to fail miserably. They need kind of accelerators from AI, but not AI as the solution developer. Use it as a catalyst, use it as an accelerator in that area, and use the ones which you have trained on a specific domain and skill sets. So that is the kind of decision making which helps in terms of deciding what goes where. And just because you can, you shouldn't go and buy everything. Right? And say at the end of the year, you will cry saying, I spent $2 million or $5 million in AI and see what am I getting. Because you spent that without having any rationals behind it. You had no clarity, visibility, or the value realization concept upfront before investing that 5 million, that how you're going to go ahead and get it back. So those are the kind of decisions, the use cases has to be scrutinized, not just because some partner or some competitor is using AI and you, without doing the deep dives into how and what they are doing, you shouldn't be jumping into it, right? So that pre-work on research is the key mantra behind it. And that's the deciding factor, whether we should be doing AI here or whether we should be doing AI as a build or a buy or a hybrid. All those decisions have to be made.
So that was a great analogy with that big four versus doing it yourself initially. And what I can make out of is that your research work is very important, wherein you really want to put in your foot, wherein you really want to put in your money, because eventually, even for trivial problems, you cannot use AI. Sometimes AI can be better used as a catalyst rather than jumping straight away into making a full-fledged solution out of it. And
absolutely, I think AI is a catalyst or an accelerator is what we should be looking and expecting out of it to begin with. We talk about agentic world, we talk about metaverse and everything, but until and unless we understand it, right, there's no point of going and jumping into it and investing into it.
Right, got it. Okay, so my next question to you is, this is probably the last question to you. That is, what skills do you think will remain valuable even if AI becomes dramatically more capable? First, and secondly, what career advice you would have to give to someone like who is starting out currently in the AI domain?
Okay, so from a skills perspective, right? If you will look into like the last 10 or 2 decades, right? There are same set of people who have grown over a period of time in terms of reaching from a hardcore software running in a physical server to now doing things in AI. These are same set of people. Did anybody envision that in 2001 or 2003, 4, 5 that they would be doing AI right now at this pace? Probably not,
No.
right? So the skills that we have today, they are still going to be there for long. Number one. What AI is going to do that is build up the efficiency on doing things more faster, with more accuracy, and in better, I would say, shape when it comes to the research on those things that you are doing. Take a very classical example. Can you replace a business analyst today with an AI? You can, if you are not listening to your business analyst today and doing things that you want to do yourself. Yes, go ahead and replace it, because anyways you are not relying on that. But will you be successful? No, you will not.
No.
Because that's a specific skill that needs real-time integration to the entire ecosystem, right? And think beyond your defined skills, which is the limitations in the AI space. The skills are defined and mapped with some limitations to make it efficient, to make it cost efficient, to make it faster, to make it look pretty. Everything has been done, but it's not kind of an open source where everybody can come and make rationals out of it. If you get a 500-pager response from an AI, you are still not going to read it. You will use AI on top of it again and say, can you summarize this in 20 pages, right? So that kills the context. So none of the jobs, whatever we are talking about, will become kind of extinct. The number of people doing it will reduce, the efficiency will go up, and the way how the transformation is perceived is gonna speed up. Everybody talking about AI in every meeting. Every leader's talking about it, including myself. To an extent, we don't understand what we are asking for, and there is absolutely no shyness in accepting it. That we hear XYZ company has done this, or they have saved $35 million annually on by doing certain things. Without going into the detail, we feel that we are investing so much, but we are not making returns out of it, without even realizing what that company has done, what they should have been doing, right? So that research, I think it's too much into the early stages at this point. What was the second part into it?
So it was like, what career advice you would want to give to someone who's just beginning his or her career journey into AI?
Interestingly, I was having this conversation at the dinner yesterday on the tables on the very similar lines, where we were saying my parents, right, when they were into school, they probably were here when it comes to mathematics and understanding of logics and applied mathematics. With me, it started going down a little bit because I got access to internet and calculators. My son now over here, who's in 10th standard right now, his way of articulating things is much better than any of ours. But when it comes to the reasoning and applied mathematics, he's more relied on to the technology. So I'm not saying they are not smart, but the way how people understood everything at that era, like my parents' era, was more detailed, and applied mathematics was much better. Now that AI is there, right? Now, career advice, very important here. Today it's AI, which probably might be semi-autonomous, but it will grow deeper, deeper, deeper into it. But then the generations and new people who would come into it, they would have lesser knowledge of how the physical servers, virtual, and everything worked, which probably is a benefit for us, because we understand the other hidden layers of how we reached AI. Now, people who are getting into AI, my sincere request to them is, just don't focus on AI only because that is what is going to earn your bread and butter. Don't be into the zone where you are heavily dependent on prompt for your livelihood and your career. What you need to understand is how the things behind that prompt solving certain thing comes your way. Number one. People talk about Google era. They type everything and they get the response. Now nobody goes to Google, they have their agents. But that does not kind of reduces the good thing that Google did for us. Google created the entire world, the dynamics that AI currently uses for fetching the information. Right? So if I discard or call Google lame in front of today's AI, that is the brain behind the AI, I would say, right? So you have to understand, if you want to win that race, if you have to be ahead of people, don't talk about LLM and how effectively you use LLM. Try to understand how the generation before LLM used to work and what made those LLMs smart enough to provide you all those real-time references. One of the key things that we do here in organizations is, all of you might have some experiences already before coming here to XLRI and in professional life. There is a rating system, annual ratings, right? Extraordinary, met expectation, poor, right? But think about what you do with those bottom two ratings. You try to find, either improve them, run in them under PIP, or tell them, right, like, okay, your time is up. You ask them to leave. Why do you do that? Because probably you are responsible in not growing them enough. Or elevating, because everybody is not similar, right? Everybody have different ways of thought process. So our motto behind first thing with AI was to build efficiency. We said the top rated person should benefit 17% approximately with AI. The one who are middle or lower should get at least 43% of efficiency up, so that we get them onto similar wavelength from a thought process, right? So that is my goal. Use AI for building up your efficiency and coming up and increasing the level, rather than using that as your method of our bread and butter, right? Use it for elevating your experiences and explanations and rationals, validated by the facts provided with it or the thought processes provided with it, because you might be thinking this. It would kind of open a wide spectrum of thoughts so that you can understand, right, like what were you missing originally. So use it in that manner is my honest guidance and recommendation and request to everybody who's getting into AI.
So we have to use AI in the sense that it makes us more productive, more efficient, but we also need to understand at the same time like what went behind it to create the way it is today, and understanding that rationale is very important. So thank you so much, sir.
Why do you think history was taught to us? What did that made any relevance to us in school? No, but they wanted us to see how the primitive era, right, and those early mans and everyone, the Stone Age people, they kind of evolved to be where we are right now, right? So if we don't get that, we are not going to appreciate and use the AI right way. Understand how we got here, right, at the first place.
So that we also don't repeat our past mistakes again.
Not just the past mistakes, but use the methodology, the way how AI got engineered, right, from a very microscopic level.
Right, got it. So just to conclude on this one, I think one thing that I can make out is that, sirs, your journey was not linear. You had that willingness to keep reinventing yourself right from the very beginning and start of your career, and then now into GenAI. So it's a thing that's a lesson for all of us, that we have to reinvent ourselves and continuously push ourselves to get better, use AI in a better, efficient way to uplift ourselves and increase our productivity. So that were my conclusion from it, and I believe that everybody who would listen to this podcast would also take a thing or two from your journey and would implement it in their lives.
Absolutely. AI is a friend.
Yeah, AI is a friend. So yeah, concluding on that note, thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me here.
Thank you.